If I could make that every month, life would be a lot easier. I'd spend it, I'm sure.
This semester, this class, is it the composition one?
No, this is 1301. You're gonna be registering for 1302 next semester.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we can get you?
You can get me, I'm in here the same time. It's actually the exact same number too.
Okay.
If you like 9 o'clock on Tuesday, Thursday. Let me see. I was looking yesterday and I had a section that was full, which I was a little surprised. Let's see, this is 209. I don't have any seats available in this class. You're in it.
I'm in it.
You're in it, yeah, Julius is in it. But I do have 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday,
Okay.
which is 200 and, I have 8 o'clock, which might work better with your work schedule, wouldn't it? I do have my 8 o'clock. And, let me tell you, last year I had one student in my 8 a.m. class, she strolled in about 8:10 every time. Much better than the guy that was in here walked in at 8:30. He's done that for the last 2 weeks, come in at 8:30, it's not good. You missed some, we were done, it's a short class today, because I'm just going over this sample essay, I'm gonna talk about the final exam and what we've gotta do. And, but, let's see, yeah. The 8 a.m. has nobody in it, so if you think you can get here on time, Alex, you're welcome to be in it. And it will probably only be you, which means,
Yeah, we're done.
she did, the girl that was in here by herself, she did really well. And like Reed was here for most of the class by himself, so, and I don't know what's going on with Jackie. Yeah, I thought I was, cause I actually have it over here yesterday, yeah, my 209 is full. So, if you really want it, you could get on a wait list.
Yeah.
Or you could register for the 8 a.m. class and come to the 9 a.m. class. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because they just put that arbitrary number on the 8 a.m. class. You could come because there's 5 people in my class, 6 is not a big deal, you know what I'm saying? And particularly because, that my 8 a.m. class only has, I'm only gonna have 5 kids from the schools in it, because that school that's giving me all the problems is not gonna be back next semester. They take 1302 as seniors, they take 1301 in the fall as juniors and 1302 in the fall as seniors. So, some of them are gonna have to repeat 1301 if they don't drop out pretty soon. Wait. Julius, what are you doing your paper on? Ooh. Okay. I don't remember. Steroids, okay, all right. There's New Deal, okay. I need to get into this section. So that, you could do that if you wanted to, Alex, it wouldn't be a problem for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I could have told my 8 a.m. kids, if you wanna come at 9, that's fine, maybe they would have showed up better. I don't know. He might say so. God love him, he did so much better at the beginning. Hello, Mr. Rathburn, how was your doctor's appointment yesterday? Is it good or bad? Good or bad?
What was good or bad?
I'm coming over to listen. I'm not hearing anything. Sorry.
What was good or bad?
I'm getting no volume from you guys whatsoever. Hey, but we're better off. In my 8 a.m. class, a power strip had been turned off, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong, because there was a second hidden power strip that I couldn't see. Pooh. Okay. Actually, this section has the least number of quizzes to make up. So if you missed a quiz, we're gonna talk about that too, but I'll wait till everybody gets in. I got a spam call in the middle of everything, and somebody said, is Patty there? And I was like, Who is this? That asked for Patty? You don't normally get that from a spam risk. There we
The
go.
history classes,
Yes.
are those only at the level I can?
No, history classes. You're talking about 23, blah, blah, blah. Or is it 13, 14, 13, 13, 13, 14,
1302,
and 1303?
1301, and 1302, 'cause I haven't taken
Yeah.
history yet.
Yeah, you should be able to, there should be available.
I think there's one inside of this building actually, one history class.
In here, in Building A, let's see. One in Isaiah. Oh. Do you want an online one?
Well,
History?
yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, ideally, that's a great course to take online.
Oh,
US, it's either, is it Texas and US, or is it half a US to the Civil War and then Civil War to the present? Something like that?
I'm taking Mr. Patience right now,
You're taking what?
Mr. Patience,
Uh-huh.
so it's pretty easy, I'm doing bad at it because I have a lot of friends come over at night and I just hang out with them instead of do my work. But,
Okay.
you know, it's pretty easy though, you have to write like,
Well, with her work schedule, I'm just thinking history's something she could do online,
yeah.
and then you have to worry about scheduling it. Let's just click on online. Let's see. Do you need either one, 1301 or 1302?
I need both.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You just sign up for a history, HIST, 1301, 151. That's the department chair. She's actually, offices in my building. Half the time, she's the department chair, but she's always taught out here mainly. But she has to drive to Levelland like 2 days a week, so. But it's Angela Roberts.
I don't wanna go to Lebanon at all.
No, this is online, so you don't have to worry,
Okay.
okay? If you see a 1 in front of the course, that tells you it's an online course.
Oh, okay,
Isn't that crazy?
yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Those both have the same section number. Wait. Let's go for spring semester. That may change, hold on. It should be 153 is the one to sign up for, okay? There are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have Mr. Payton? He's got an online class in 1301. Okay. So, you can do 153 or 155, okay? And it should look a little bit like our course. Mine's not exactly what it's supposed to be for the online courses, but it's close. Good morning, everybody. Hi. I hope you have copies of the, it is a sample argumentative essay. Before we talk about that, I want to go over a couple of things, okay? You need to register for the spring. Not everybody's registered, I can tell that. Or if you're not gonna take it, don't register, that makes sense too, okay? So, when we go into the class, the first thing I wanna talk about is, an announcement just got posted earlier today. This is about making up quizzes over chapters, the chapter quizzes and the grammar quizzes, okay? So you have next week to make those up, and that's what this announcement says. Let me make it bigger. Okay, it says, December 6th through 12th is the missed quizzes week. And I'm generously not saying because you just didn't take it, okay? But I'll explain something else. To access quizzes students missed, they will have to go to the week this quiz was scheduled. Because it's already been taken, I can't give it again. I have to reopen up the original quiz. So, the quizzes will open up at 7 a.m. on Monday, December 6th, and close at midnight on Friday, December 10th. That's the only, if you don't take it then, don't say, oh, I was playing basketball, I don't care. You could have taken it on Monday when you weren't playing basketball, or working, or whatever. So, I tell you, when the quizzes are, chapters 1 and 2, you will find in week 1, 3 and 4, week 2, grammar quiz 1 is week 3, grammar quiz 2, it tells you right there what week it's in, all right? The other thing where you can find it is if you go look in your syllabus, okay? All right? So, the only one you don't have to make up is quiz 5, and that's because I gave everybody a 15 on it, because I forgot to assign it. So it's not extra credit, you just earned 15 points and didn't have to do anything for it. So, that is next week. If you don't know which quizzes you have to take, go look at my grades, and if you don't have a grade on a chapter quiz or a grammar quiz, that'll tell you. Now, I have gone through for each of my classes. This is technical information, you can't really see it. There's all kinds of stuff written here. But it tells me in this class the only things that have to be made up are chapter 2 quiz, chapter 6 and 7, grammar 2, chapter 16, and grammar 3. So those are the only ones I'm gonna make available to you guys, okay? Just because of that. Or as you can see, the one below it, look how many I've got to open up. That's my 8 a.m. class. There's a lot to be made up in that class, okay? So that's what's happening with that. So, now the other thing, is also in that week, which is week 15, I made it so big I can't find anything. You have your final grammar 4 quiz. Grammar 4 quiz is on Wednesday, or on Thursday, I'm sorry. Thursday for you guys, I think. Let me see if, I don't even know if I put it in here yet for you guys. No, I haven't put it in there. It's gonna be on Thursday, and grammar 4 quiz is a little bit of everything. So you have 10 questions, just like before, true, false, true if it's correct, false if it's wrong, but your errors will be multiple. It can be comma splices, use run-on sentences, or subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent agreement, or apostrophe. It will not be a mix of the 3. It will be one of those errors in each of the sentences. It will not be a big mix. I'm not trying to confuse you, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. So that is on Wednesday. If you don't take it Wednesday, you don't get to retake it. I'm sorry. You know, I'm a little too lenient about people making up quizzes. That's all I have to say, okay? So that is next Thursday, I'll get it right, during class. Because all you're going to be doing during class, so if you guys want to, you can go down to the computer lab and take it in class if you want to, or you can wait and take it later on. Your choice. It'll open up at 7 on Monday, 7 on Thursday, and close at midnight. So just make sure you get it done. Don't tell me I had a doctor's appointment. I don't want any excuses, okay? So now I want to talk about what else is coming up. And I don't have everything set up in week 15 for you, but I do have the discussion board. What I do on my final exam is I do what's called a reflective, it's 2 parts. Your final exam is a total of 175 points. 75 of it's really easy to get right. And that's what it is, it's this discussion board. And so in this discussion board, you'll create a new thread that will have 3 sections or paragraphs, one for each of the major essays that you've written this semester, which are the narrative, the compare and contrast, and the argumentative/summary, because the summary is part of this argumentative essay, because I wanted you to do something that had to apply to what you're going to write about. You must give what the assignment was, what you wrote about, what errors there were in organization or grammar and punctuation, what you got right, what you got wrong, and the paragraph section should end with what you learned from the assignment. Did you learn anything? So what I'm doing is for each of those sections, I'm having you to do research to write your final exam. So, okay, so you'll go in, you're going to create a thread, and let me make it just a little bit smaller. When you can see it like this, see how it's got create thread, grade discussion forum, subscribe, search, display, okay? Sometimes you may not see, I don't always see display because it's important. So I'm going to create a thread, I'm just going to go my paragraph, and whatever you want to put in there. And then you can write, I would come in and write narrative. And you can go ahead and start on this right now. Finish the argumentative essay first. Does that make sense? Finish it, get it done. But you're gonna go in and say, okay, the narrative assignment, we had to write about something, so I wrote about blah, 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 blah. Well, I got this right, I got this wrong, what did I learn? That I need to get my work done on time, something like that, okay? So you fill that out, then you're gonna come and do compare and contrast. So see how I'm actually putting sections in this? So you don't wanna run it all together as one long paragraph, because then I really have to figure out what you're doing. You know, give me sections, tell me about that one, and then you're gonna come down and you're gonna go argumentative / summary, or you could say summary / argumentative, but you technically can write about the first three, the first three things can be done. Narrative can be done, compare and contrast, and summary, because you've already gotten those facts and they're right. So the argumentative summary section will be a little bit longer, okay? But but don't submit it, because it's not complete. That makes sense, right? So click Save Draft, okay? So one of the things that sometimes happens in Blackboard is that you get, sometimes something's happened over here on display. If you have saved it as a draft and you can't find it when you go back into the discussion board, come over to display, and you're gonna see that there's options, show all, published only, hidden only, unavailable, or drafts. If you click on, make sure that show all is there, you'll always see your draft, okay? So see how it's there, then you can go back into it. Don't click on your name, click on that, and right down here it says edit, and it'll bring up what you've written. And that's the easiest way to do it, okay? But remember, save it as a draft until you have the information in the argumentative. Because I'm gonna be honest, this is gonna be the last class that gets graded on the argumentative essay. I'm gonna be trying to shoot those back to you as fast as possible. Which is gonna be tough, because your papers aren't due until Tuesday, December 7th. So I've gotta grade about 45 essays for you guys in 2 days. That's not easy. So if you don't get your argumentative in, and you're a little bit late doing that, I'm not gonna count it late, because I'll know when I've sent back the stuff. Where are the New Deal kids? OMG. They're not there. Oh well. Okay. Hopefully they'll watch the video, so they'll know what we're doing, okay? But, so be aware that if you don't get it finished by the 10th, if I don't get it back to you until the 11th, I won't count it late, because I have to get those back to you for you to do it. I'm aware of that. So that is the first part. That's 75 points. You get 25 points for each section on that. All right, so now when you go into week 16, I'm so excited that I can show stuff. It makes it so much easier. Here is final exam. This is final exam week, and just so you guys are aware of it, you don't go to your regular classes on final exam week. You go to your final exam time. Except, this is for SPC, except you guys can turn yours in online, so you don't have to come to class when it's due, okay? And you're gonna see right here, it says, your final exam is due by 10 a.m. on Wednesday, December 15th. So if I don't have it by 10 a.m., I will give it a 0. I'm not gonna email you and say, hey, you didn't get it in. You just get a 0, and you've lost 10%, because the final exam is 100 points, this essay, okay? And so here it tells you what it's about. So you can already be working on this final exam once you get the argumentative essay done, okay? See what, hold on, I'll look at that in a second. So each student's gonna compose a reflective essay that requires them to look back at the semester and see how you have evolved as a writer. Hopefully you've gotten better, I hope, okay? The writer should consider what kind of writer you were as the semester began, examine how each assignment or which assignments that you felt like you learned the most from. It's your choice. You don't have to do exactly this. But you do have to talk about what you learned, okay? And how that affected your abilities, and decide what was the most important lesson you got out of the class, okay? And it's amazing how often most people say, give me the same answer. And I'm not going to tell you what that is, okay? So the essay may have I in it because you're writing about your thought processes, and this is a metacognitive activity. I'm asking you to think about what you think about writing in a way, or what you think you learned over the course. So I'm asking you to look back. It's metacognition is one of the big drives in education, but I've been doing this for quite a while, so I mean, I just think it's a good exercise, and it's a way to get you to write an essay. So you can have I in it, but no just and no you. It's not a conversation. It's a final exam essay. I used to make kids come write it in class, but then I had to wait until they got done to grade them. This way, you can turn it in early and then you're done with the semester, all right? And so it's gonna have at least 3 paragraphs consisting of an introduction with a thesis, a body section, and conclusion. You can have one big body paragraph where you talk about, this is what I learned over the course of the semester. It's been interesting. There's your topic sentence. What did you learn? I learned this and blah, blah. From this, I learned this. You know, see, I can do that. But you've done the research by doing the discussion board. And it says, in a conclusion, the paper should be formatted to MLA standards, which means double spacing, correct heading, and indentation of paragraphs. I finished those 94 character analysis on Saturday, before I went to a wedding, Saturday afternoon. Or I guess I finished it Friday night. And I finished it Saturday night after the wedding. And it just drove me crazy how many of them didn't indent the first paragraph. And that's that stupid STAR test. I'm sorry. That's how I feel about that, okay? But it should be no more than 2 pages in length. And please don't use 8-point Times New Roman or 8-point calibrate. Those are so hard to read. I have cataracts in this eye is hardly seeing anything right now. It's all blurry if I look through it. I can't read anything. I can tell who you are because I know you now, okay? So I'm mainly looking out of my right eye. So, you know, make sure you're using at least a 12-point font to help me out. But that's what you've got to do, okay? So that's the final exam. So we're covered on that. I'll go back over it next week too. But the point I want to make is, we're doing peer revision on Thursday, so you have a draft of your argumentative essay is due tomorrow by midnight, okay? Make sure you get the receipt, because you're turning it in through Turn It In, so we can make sure you're not plagiarizing, okay? That's the check to help you out on that. So, after we do peer revision, then you're gonna have 2 other people look at your paper. Then you've got, if you're satisfied once you get done, you can turn it in. I don't actually have it up. I don't have a place to turn it in just yet. I'll get that done today or tomorrow. Because I don't anticipate anybody finishing it by tomorrow, okay? I'll have that in there for you. But if you want to turn it in early, it's that much easier for me to get to it, okay? And if you turn it in early, it'll be one of the first ones I grade, which means you have a better chance of getting it back. So, you don't have to wait until next Tuesday to turn it in. That next Tuesday is for those procrastinators who don't do their work on time and they're like, I don't know if I got the work cited done correctly, you know. That'll give you an opportunity to ask those questions. But it pushes me on getting things graded, okay? So that's what's going on there. Let's see. They got called out for ASVAB. ASVAB is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery of Tests. It's one way in which they can maybe recruit kids to be in the military. You take a test and it tells you what your aptitude and what your inclination are, and where they match is where you should get your job, where you should get your career at. I used to have to lose my kids, darn it, for those days when they took the day they took the test. Okay. So what we're going to look at right now is the sample essay in the argumentation. You should have a copy of it. I got to go find the PDF, because I've at least figured out that I can write on PDF since I can't write on Word documents anymore, okay? So this is, and what's really interesting is, this is a topic that I didn't realize. I have several people writing on this topic, so they get a bonus benefit, okay? So we're going to go through it and just talk about what's good and what's bad in this essay. So, it's formatted correctly. It has a heading, not a header. You don't have to, particularly those who've been taught, you don't need a header with your name and the page number on it. It's not an issue for me, okay? What most likely will happen is I might end up grading yours online and returning them to you online to get them back to you more quickly. We'll see. The kids I'll have to send to their facilitators. But, you know, any student, that's your name, my name, 1301-441. So obviously this is from one of my sections I've taught in the past. And wow, to December 2010. I wasn't even, okay. But look at the title. That's centered. It says video games do not cause violent behavior. It's not a question. I know the readers stand on the topic, don't I? Very clear what it is, okay? So that's good. wait a second. Let me click on this so I can write. Okay. At this point, it is American tradition to blame media for acts of violence and bad behavior. Americans once blamed novels, television, and rock music for violent behavior, and now the new scapegoat is video games. If you're curious, scapegoat comes out of the Bible, okay? An understanding of the rating system that games go through, the effect other people can have while playing a game, and the personality of the individual are all important factors that prove that video games do not create violent behavior. This thesis has been reversed from what I've been teaching you guys. There's nothing wrong with that. It should be, video games do not create violent behavior because the important factors are, and then see how you can just reverse it. So, your A point is right up here, understanding of the rating system. The B point is the effect other people can have while playing a game. And the personality of the individual who's playing the game are all important factors. So there's A, B, and C. Please notice there's no first person, there's no second person, there's no I, me, my, no you or your. So now we come down to the second paragraph, first body paragraph. The rating of a video game is a critical factor. There it is right there, number A. So this is on topic. We are unified, we are cohesive so far. Similar to the rating systems for television shows and movies, the rating system for video games shows the recommended age for the player. While there are many rating systems across the world, the one used in the United States is the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB for short. The ESRB was created in 1994 due to the growing concern of violence and profanity in video games. The ratings in the ESRB can draw many parallels to the MPAA, which is Motion Picture Association of America, which is the rating system used for movies. The M rating used by ESRB is similar to the R rating used by the MPAA. This aspect shows that M-rated games are not recommended for children in the same way that R-rated movies are not recommended for children. Game stores do not allow children under the age of 17 to purchase M-rated games. So how do children gain access to M-rated games? I've told you I don't like questions. This one didn't get counted off because they answered it right after it. They didn't expect me to answer it. That's the biggest problem with novice young writers, is you just think it should be, the answer is obvious. You can answer it. So what could have been done here was, game stores do not allow children under the age of 17 to purchase M-rated games, but parents will frequently buy them those rated games. And so the problem is a form of parental neglect. I like that point. We've got a lot of parents that take little children to go see inappropriate movies, they watch inappropriate things on TV, and then they let them play these violent games, and we wonder why our kids their behavior's not gotten better. So now we've got a quote coming up. It's stated by Eric Kane in his article, Violent Video Games Do Not Cause Violence. What I'm going to do right now is tell you what I do when I read a paper. I'm going to scroll down to the works cited. I'm going to go all the way there. And I see, there's Eric Kane right here, Violent Video Games Do Not Cause Violence. It's from Gale in Context. Everything, it looks like it's set up correctly. Oh, look, here's another one, Olson. O comes after K, so that's good. Here's another one from Opposing Viewpoints. Here's a third one for Hyen, Geert P, et al., which means a bunch more. This one's not from the databases, but there are two from the databases, so this paper had the option of earning an A, and it did earn an A. Okay, so because there's two from the databases, all right? So I'll go back up to that paragraph now. Okay. It says, parents should think deliberately about purchasing these games for their kids. Better still, they should be involved in the games their kids play as much as possible so that they can know firsthand whether the actions and images they are allowing their children to consume are appropriate or not. See how you've got parenthetical reference? Right there? This is still the quote, okay? Overall, the rating of a game plays a crucial role in the type of content that is presented in a game, and parents have to pay attention to that rating. So this point is actually about the rating system. There's an A point, and then the B point is that parents ignore the rating when they should be paying attention. Okay, so other people can have a drastic effect on an individual while playing a game. That is the B point. My line wasn't straight, sorry. Violent games can first be introduced to an individual through another person. The type of reaction to violent games can be influenced by other people's reactions as well. And this is a very complicated title. In Friendly Fire, Longitudinal Effects of Exposure to Violent Video Games on Aggressive Behavior in Adolescent Friendship Dyads. They studied friendship and how that encourages violence, okay, in video games. The author states, and so I can tell this says the author states, so we're talking about more than one author, but they're not listed. We emphasize that peers play an important role in enhancing the effects of exposure to violent games, and in particular for adolescents, and that the social context in which games are played is an important avenue for future research. So here's the parenthetical reference, because there is an author, but it says Verheyen et al. Et al. Means and more. You would never introduce this quote by saying, give that long title and then say, Verheyen et al. You don't do that. That's why you say authors up there. When I go look at the work cited, I'm going to see that it was the last source. Et al. Means that there's more than two, there's at least 4 authors on this article. And that becomes too much trouble to list all those authors. So that's why you have to refer to it as the authors or the article, if you're going to talk about it without giving names. But in parenthetical reference, you have to go Verheyen, the last name, and et al. To say that there's many more authors. That's what you do. You can't do it for 2 or 3. If you have 2 authors, you have to go Verheyen and Thompson. If you have 3, you go Verheyen, comma, Geert P., comma, Patty Thompson, comma, and Julius Vasquez. See how I put the last 2 names in correct order, period. That's how you do 2 and 3. You have to give full names, but you switch the last 2 authors are always first name, last name. Because the only one that really counts is the one that it's alphabetized by, which is Verheyen. Not that we don't count because we were part of that article, okay? But for alphabetical purposes, so you can see you've got K, O, and V. So this is in alphabetical order by whatever's listed first. I'll go back to that quote. There it is. This essentially means that, okay, so there's a really long, oh wait, sorry. We emphasize, did I read that quote? I guess I did. This essentially means that others' involvement is what creates aggressive behavior and not video games. In other words, what the author of this paper did was summarize what that quote meant. And that's why, or paraphrase it. So that's what you should do. Don't ever end a paragraph with a quote from somebody else. Always tell me what it said in your own words. That tells me you understand what the quote meant. Okay? And if you do that with every quote, if with every quote you explain what it means to the reader, now your paper that's 400 words creeps up, doesn't it? If you have to explain every quote. See how that's one way you get length, is by explaining. Don't expect the reader to do all the work about seeing how it connects to the topics and to the thesis, okay? That's your job. The authors back up this claim by stating, at the same time, no support was found for a direct actor effect of violent gaming on aggression. So we have parenthetical reference again. And notice that there's no end punctuation inside closing quotes. The period that ends the sentence goes after parenthetical reference, which is always at the end of the sentence. Okay? Always at the end of the sentence. But so you don't put closing punctuation in. I don't care if it's an exclamation point. You don't need it. So overall, the evidence above shows that peers are much more direct in creating violence than the game itself. That's what he's saying. No support was found for a direct effect of violent gaming on aggression. It just said it there in the concluding sentence. Good paragraph. So now we come down to the last body paragraph. The most important factor to view is the personality of the individual playing a game. That was the C point. An individual's personality before and after playing a game, this is incorrect. Before and after playing a game, an individual's personality is a very important variable. Okay. So there are subject-verb agreement errors in this, but I didn't correct anything in this paper, by the way. 2A. While there has been extensive testing done on the subject, all of these old experiments fall flat in one way or another. An example of this is that scientists conduct experiments that do not accurately reflect real-world scenarios. I want to talk about this word. Some of you are doing very technical subjects, and so a lot of times when you say the word scientist, you stop on the S and don't put the T that's the very end. It should be scientist. There should be a T on the end. So as a result, a lot of students don't make it plural when they're talking about more than one scientist. It should be scientists. but people think it's plural because, you know, what I'm saying, because we are a society where we're dropping the ends of words, we're dropping it, okay? And we need to put them back in there for plurals. So be careful of that word if you're dealing with with any kind of a scientific subject, so that you make sure you talk about scientist when you're talking about more than one. So scientists, okay. Now we're going to use that final source. But you'll notice that we've had 2 quotes from Verhaven, we've had 2 from Kane already. So there are 4 quotes in this paper. And I don't feel like all I've read are quotes. Do y'all see what's going on there? That there's enough of the author in here so that it doesn't feel like all I'm reading is a series of quotes. Cheryl K. Olson finds that experimental settings are not only artificial, but turn gameplay into game work. So I go down, I look at Cheryl K. Yeah, she's there, it looks good, okay? So I do check them to make sure, because that's when you find out things, like people will misspell the author's name when they put it in text. I will pick up on that. So it happens. This statement shows that the majority of older studies are flawed based on how they ran their experimentation. There is a description that tells you what the previous quote just said, doesn't it? Studies that actually have concrete data have shown that aggressive people are drawn to aggressive games. Olson states, here's another quote, so now we've got our 6th quote in the essay, aggressive children may seek out violent games, and violent games may reinforce aggressive behavior. That is not the same thing as cause aggressive behavior, okay? It's also been shown that crime rates have reduced in the past 20 years as the number of video games have greatly increased in that time frame, okay? Kane backs this argument by stating, so now we're getting the 7th quote, our 3rd from Kane. A working paper from economists on violence and video game sales, published in 2011, found that higher rates of violent video game sales, in fact, correlated with the decrease in crimes, especially violent crimes. So we don't need parenthetical reference because Kane is listed up here, so I know who the quote came from. The evidence listed above shows that aggressive people enjoy violent games as a way to release aggression. The information proves that video games were not to blame and actually improved behavior. Okay? Now, this does not have a counter-argument. This was done before this is my first semester to put counter-argument in, because I want you to try to do it. I do have one topic that some people are writing on. It's about children's behavior being worse. Nobody is out there doing research saying that children's behavior is not worse. It's not out there. So how can you counter an argument that's not presented? You can't. I think most people will agree that as a whole, it looks like children's behavior is not as good as it used to be. I think the case might be that we're just seeing more of it because we've got so much access to media where you can see bad things, right? And bad things are what gets highlighted. Okay, so let's go back and do the conclusion. So you would put, that's where your counter-argument would go. If you don't have anything on your counter-argument, don't write it. It won't cost you big. Might be like 5 points off of your paper, okay? So don't get hung up on, I don't have an argument, I can't finish my paper. Yes, you can. It's not going to take a letter grade off. It'll just take half a letter grade, okay? There's no concrete data that explicitly states that video games create increased aggression. Ratings for games are in place to ensure that the consumer can personally consider violence within a game. Peers have a more direct effect on aggression than video games do. Aggressive people are naturally drawn to violent games as a way to release aggression. All of these factors show that video games do not negatively affect behavior. They are simply the scapegoat to blame bigger problems on. Okay? So, it's a pretty good paper. 92 to 94 on this, probably. Okay? So, the only thing wrong with the works cited is it shouldn't be underlined. That's an error. So the works cited in and of itself is good. So, but I do want to talk about, violent video games. The most violent video game that I remember from when my kids were younger is Grand Theft Auto, where you got points for killing people, running over prostitutes, you got points, right? Never had played the game, didn't really want my son to play it. But the whole point about violent behavior being aggravated, people with how when you get in a group and you start, I'll just talk about walking down the halls in the school, and so your buddy, he shoves you, he's kind of ornery, and he shoves you in the hall, right? And so you're like, and so you shove him back, and then all of a sudden, those aggressive behaviors, they feed off of each other. And so that's part of what's going on in here. It's not that the game makes you aggressive, But if you stop and think, anybody play Call of Duty or, one of those multiplayer games where you have your headphones on or you can hear the other players playing and you get those 10 and 11 and 12-year-old boys trying to cuss and sound like they're men, and you know that this is a kid who's not gone through puberty yet, right? But being in that environment creates aggression. It's not caused by the game, it's being in the environment where everybody else is trying to prove they're tough and macho playing the game, right? Even if it's a woman playing the game, they try to act tough and macho, right? So I like the paper. So if you're doing violent video games, you've just got a bonus, you've got some extra help here, okay? But this paper wasn't written in 2010. It's a little more recent than that. But I changed the date so you don't know. So that is a good sample paper. And you'll notice there's no page numbers referenced. The page numbers is not that big of a deal. Hey, Nudo, I'm done for the day. So hopefully you can watch. Hopefully Ms. Hockenberry's paying attention so you can talk to you about the final exam. The draft is due by midnight tomorrow night. You're gonna need 2 copies on Thursday to do peer revision. So if you think you're great and good to go, you can submit it. I'll get that put in there, like I said, today or tomorrow, so that when things get done early, you can. I do have to get peer revision document done. That's a good point to make now. But again, if you need to make up a quiz, go look at that announcement. The announcement tells you what weeks those quizzes will open up in, because I cannot put them in a new week because they've already been assigned, okay? So, we're at 9:35. Hey. I just got a message from one of my students about counterarguments. This is somebody else. Who's got, the person who's doing fast fashion. I'm sorry, I can't type counterargument. Okay. Because nobody's gonna argue that fast fashion's good, cheap, things fall apart. No, okay? So, if you've got any questions, send me a text, email, or of course message. Just be aware you need to get those drafts done, okay? All right, we're good to go. That's all I have for today. I'm gonna work on putting stuff in, okay? I'm making sure I've got, I'm gonna go into the, so you got those section numbers you needed, Alex, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Your conference is scheduled to end in 2 minutes. Your conference is now over. Goodbye.
I can turn that off now, 'cause they're gone, okay? So, I'm afraid that there's just too many ifs right now.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, quite a bit. Oh.
Or why don't you think about it, and the more you think about it, all you have to do